really, really close call for number 9 Iowa State, Dalton.
Game of the day right here.
Honestly. Iowa State beating UCF 38-35. Let's go over the highest graded players, starting off with the Iowa State Cyclones. Cornerback Jontez Williams, 85.9 grade. Another cornerback, Darian Porter, 81 grade. Jalen Travis, the offensive tackle, 73.2. Running back Abu Sama III at 72.1. Rylan Barnes, the linebacker, at 71.3. And Rocco Becht with a 60 grade in this one. Let's go over to UCF with their highest graded players in the loss to Iowa State. Their highest grade player was cornerback Brandon Adams. I'll talk about in just a second, 88.9 grade. Lee Hunter, the defensive tackle, 83.5. Ziri Alexander, the linebacker, at a 76.4. Dalen Dotson, 73.7, the D tackle. Caden Kittler, the center, at a 72.9. And Ja'Curry Brown, the quarterback, at a 66.9 grade. Dawn, for you, what was the stat that told the story?
This was just two teams that ran all over each other. I'm just going to put them both together. 624 combined rushing yards in this game. And UCF ran for almost 350, and they only had the ball for, I think it was like 23 minutes or something. They just kept They created so many explosives that they actually couldn't control the clock because, and they also had what was effectively 2 pick sixes, right? One of them was plenty of fun.
Yeah.
But, I mean, these two teams were just running up and down the field on each other. Look, RJ Harvey was fantastic, 196 yards. Ja'Curry Brown, the quarterback, not the backup quarterback anymore. He's in place of KJ Jefferson now, 154 yards on the ground. 2 of them combined for 14 missed tackles. Then you go to the other side. Man, Rocco Becht just willed this team to a win, and especially with his feet. It feels like to me, I don't remember last year Rocco Becht being this good of an athlete, this good of a rusher, right? I didn't think it was something last year. I thought he was a decent athlete. He could make things happen, but now he's flying down the field, man. When he gets north and south towards the line of scrimmage, that's a problem. 117 yards, 2 touchdowns, 11 first downs he picked up with his feet. And then Carson Hansen added 91 yards and 2 touchdowns. These two teams, they were just running up and down the field, back and forth on each other. The front sevens in these games, outside of a couple of guys, really struggled. I mean, it was just crazy. It just felt like back and forth constantly the entire game. It's like, oh, here's another 40, 50-yard play. Here's an 80-yard run from R.J. Harvey. Here's Beck going on another scramble. I mean, this was just a day. If you like running the football, if you like watching teams that run the football, that's what happened in this game right here between these two teams. It was insane.
Yeah, and honestly, that goes into my stat really well because UCF had 62 passing yards in this loss to Iowa State. They were solely reliant on the run game. Ja'Curry Brown, 8 for 20, 62 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 2 picks, 1 big-time throw, 2 turnover-worthy plays, 44.1 passing grade. Dawn, UCF had more EPA per play and more yards per play than Iowa State, but the difference was when this was a close game, Rocco Becht was able to make throws in crunch time when he needed to. Ja'Curry Brown could not. Now, Ja'Curry Brown's a very young kid. I think he's a true freshman, right? I believe.
I don't. See, he's real. He's real. I don't know. I always forget if it's true freshman or if he's a redshirt freshman. You know how those things go.
Yeah, let me look real quick. But yeah, I mean, listen, that's just the difference is that they, in a lot of ways, UCF kind of played better than Iowa State in this one. They just the big, they just could not get the passing game going honestly at all. And yeah, he is a true freshman actually right now. So yeah, Ja'Curry Brown, very young kid. He's a guy that we or actually no, not a true freshman. No, he's actually like a third-year player. He actually went to Miami first, and then he transferred to UCF. So still a young kid though, and the guy that they're looking forward to having in the future. But yeah, Ja'Curry Brown just could not get anything going in the passing game. That's really why Iowa State was able to win, because Rocco Becht, when he needed to, wasn't a great game for Rocco Becht, but when he needed to, he was able to make the big throws, and UCF just was solely reliant on the run game, and in a close game like this, when you needed to drive the ball down the field, they weren't able to do it.
Yeah, he gutted it out, and it's what Rocco's been doing in some of these tighter games. And look, Iowa State, still one of the few teams left that's undefeated, and they keep finding a way. And you mentioned, the other thing we mentioned, I think we mentioned it last week, was look, Iowa State, they can always cover. Matt Campbell's always got this secondary ready to play. They certainly have some issues in the front 6, front 7 up there in run defense, and we've talked about Iowa State with the weaknesses in the trenches all year, but their skill guys on both sides of the ball are getting it done, and they got it done just enough again in this game to cover for all the deficiencies up front, especially on defense.
Absolutely. So, Dalton, for you, who was the most impressive part of this game?
I am so in. Jaylin Noel is one of my favorite players in the country. Max, first, let me just the stats first. The grade's in the 60s. It's not going to be as high as you would think for a game like this because he had 3 drops in the second half, but 8 catches for 153 yards, 139 of those yards in the second half. At halftime, he had 1 catch for 14 yards, 4 explosive catches when the rest of the team had 1. I'm just amazed, much like Xavier Restrepo with Miami, I'm amazed that every single time Iowa State needs a game-changing play. I mean, every single time, it's Jaylin Noel.
Yeah.
I go back, their first play of the season, 50-yard bomb to him. Iowa, they need a game-winning field goal against Iowa. He beats Sebastian Castro in man coverage twice to put him in field goal range. They're playing a tight game early with West Virginia. He gets a 60-yard touchdown or somewhere in that range to flip the game in their favor all of a sudden. This game, they're slow in the second half. Rocco throws what was basically a pick six. They got dropped at the 1, and that was a wild call.
Hold on to the ball, kids.
Hold
on to the ball.
Please, for your own good, hold the ball all the way through the goal line. We've seen it
happen way too much.
We see it way too much. That was why I'd never seen that either. He drops the ball. We thought for sure, obviously, it was just going to be a touchback or whatever.
Yeah.
But nobody recovered it, and it sat in the end zone in play. It didn't roll out of bounds out to the sideline because then it would have been a touchback. It sits there. So they review it, and he clearly dropped it. He clearly dropped it short. But it sat in the end zone in play with no clear recovery. So the offense keeps it, and R.J. Harvey gets a free touchdown. So I'm sure R.J. Harvey is given that game ball. I forget which defensive back it was that dropped that one. R.J. Harvey gets a free touchdown for the stats on that. I mean, here's a 6-inch touchdown after that. But right after that play, when it looked like Iowa State's darkest moment in this game, who catches a big post route for Iowa State to get him back and score? Oh, it's Jaylin Noel. It feels, you flip them on, it's every single time where you go, oh, Iowa State's wobbly, they might get knocked out here, and Jaylin Noel comes up with a big play, had a couple of big catches on the game-winning drive at the end. It's getting to a point, it's just ridiculous. He's become one of the most valuable receivers, and Jaden Higgins is really good too, but this was a Jaylin Noel game, and several of them have been like that. It's just going to continue to be like this for Iowa State. If you're watching an Iowa State game and there's a big moment in the fourth quarter and their season or this game is on the line, the ball's going to number 13. And he's probably going to make something good happen. It's incredible what he's doing on a weekly basis.
Absolutely. I think it was Braden Marshall, I believe. Yeah, Braden Marshall was the one who caught the ball, almost had a pick six, and then dropped on the 1-yard line. So ended up working out for him, but hold on to the ball, kids, because we've seen it happen so many times. Sean Jackson, I think it was the first time I can ever remember it happening.
Yeah. It happens. It happens. Didn't it happen? Was it? What game was that a few years back when that happened and somebody housed it?
It was a Utah game.
Yeah.
It was a Utah. I forgot who they were playing.
Somebody housed it like 103 yards.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah. Which is just awesome that it goes the other way.
These things can happen.
14-point swing.
They don't all catch the break like UCF caught in this game.
That's a 14-point swing right there if that happens. But it didn't happen in that one. And luckily, there was a score for them right after that. But my most impressive part was actually the other corner who had an interception in this game. That is Brandon Adams for UCF. 92.4 PFF grade, 3 targets, no catches allowed. He had a pick and 2 forced incompletions on those 3 targets. Lockdown coverage for the Knights in their near upset over number 9 Iowa State. I think if they ended up winning that game, Dalton, Brandon Adams would have gotten the game.
He had the actual pick six near the end of the first half that really put Iowa State in a hole at halftime. And I mean, Iowa State, they just kept battling, and that's what they do at this point. Rocco Becht. I think Rocco Becht is. Honestly, he's probably the best quarterback in the country that we haven't talked about enough.
Yeah.
He's just been really good this year. And I know there was ups and downs in this game with those 2 picks, but he's been so good this year. And I think I wonder if he's a guy, when we're looking at for 2026 quarterback prospects, if we need to start talking about Rocco Becht more coming back next year and really look at Iowa State.
He's a gamer.
He's a gamer, and Iowa State, they do a better job than almost anybody in the country of keeping their guys from going in the portal. Matt Campbell's going to bring a lot of this same team back next year. They're going to be really good as long as Rocco is there.
Well, they brought all their team back from last year, too. That's why that was really the big plus for Iowa State going into the preview for them was like, hey, their entire team's back. And
I think, if I remember right, I saw a stat that said they had the lowest percentage of their roster in the FBS that left in the portal.
Yeah.
Matt Campbell builds the culture and finds a way to keep these guys.
Absolutely. So, really impressive run for Iowa State, keeping their undefeated season alive by beating UCF.